Welcome, Joe. How are you
Hello.
today?
I'm awesome, Bernadette. Thank you so much for having me again.
No worries. Every now and again, it's really nice to have a co-host because I feel, it's a bit hard talking to yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
Plus, you bring that wealth of knowledge around the property market, what's happening, and so on. And so today we've got a very specific topic. We're going to be talking about what the government's hinting at in terms of, well, some of it's been announced. But in terms of grants moving forward. But before we do that, how's the lockdown or the loosening off of the lockdown working for you?
It's going well, actually. I'm thinking, even though I define myself as being an introverted extrovert, I'm so, it's cold, so I don't mind being home. If this was summer, I'd be like, really hopping and skipping down to the beach. But I don't mind some lazy days in front of Netflix. And business has been really strong, sort of on the pickup post Easter, when I think people are starting to get their confidence back. But also, this is just a new world, a new way of doing business, and we're still moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I really love. Some of the changes that have come around as a result of needing to be, keep distance. To be honest with you, I bet you haven't either, but I have had no time to watch Netflix.
I've been reading again. That's an
Yeah.
tool I forgot I had.
It's funny. Actually, I must have more time on my hands because one of the issues that we have, because Stephen and I, it's just us, and all the babies have flown the coop. We have this thing where he will leave a little screw or something somewhere and then say to me, "Oh, do you know where that thing is?" And like I'm meant to just say, "Oh,
Yeah.
tell him where it is." And the other day I thought, you know what, I'm going to fix this. So what I'm doing is I'm going through every junk drawer, everything in the whole house, and I'm categorizing everything down to the screw and putting it in a file. So, and I actually bought some mailing boxes for something I was doing, and I bought 100 boxes in the wrong size. And so now I've got these perfect boxes. So I've already gone through about 60 of them. So when he comes to me and he says, where will I find earplugs or where will I find the key to this? I can go to the list and say, go there. So
Yeah.
I think that's proof that I have way too much time on my hands.
It's so good though, having things systemized. Oh.
I know, but the proof is going to be whether I can maintain that, because I have to admit that I am the messy one.
Yeah, it's a little bit the same in my house too, Bernadette. So.
Oh, that's good. I think we're the creative ones as well. So that's yeah. So in terms of the market, so you're saying things are a bit more buoyant.
They are. Well, I guess, there's low housing stock out there, but the number of buyers are strong, and therefore it is still, it's still not in our hands to control prices. I'm still, really trying to get in early on the ground. And I'm talking about people who are buying at a price point where it's a lot more competition. We're not talking about your $5 million budgets, we're talking about, your mums and dads trying to get into the housing market and things like that. So,
have you noticed a drop in the higher end, like in the 5 million mark?
I haven't actually had much to do with that end of the business. Not since before coronavirus really was an issue. Yeah. So I don't actually know where that sits, but all the conversations I've had with a number of different brokers we work with, they are run off their feet with inquiries, investor as well as owner occupiers, as well as first homeowners. And I think a lot of people are seeing in the marketplace this, small window of time where prices are probably stagnant to a certain extent. So, competition's still there, but they're not on the rise. I know some people are getting themselves ready for perhaps there is going to be a dip in the market prices. So they are doing the right thing, and that is getting themselves pre-approved as well.
Exactly, yeah. I think there'll be a lot of disappointment if there's no crash.
I know.
But I think there probably will be. But in saying that, I don't think the JobKeeper is going to stave off anyone getting into trouble with their property. So I really don't understand the market at the moment, to be honest.
It is. I mean, it's obviously, you know, a first for all of us involved. But I did read just in the media about realestate.com.au, you know, like talking about, even though a lot of the headlines and the clickbait is saying, you know, 30% drops and all this drama, and they're saying, well, that's not reflective in the amount of searches they're seeing. And so there are a lot of people locked indoors, still surfing the internet, looking at properties. What can I do? What can I buy? You know, and it's obviously, you know, you and I are converted. But he actually mentioned that the new housing market also they've had their record their busiest months just passed in terms of searches. So, you know, the difference between the journos who are doing the headlines and the reality.
Because those things don't sell papers, do they?
Yeah, of course.
The truth. Yeah. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Okay, so let's talk about the government grants. Sure. So let's talk about the new build one for a start. Yeah. So do you want to sort of expand on that?
Yeah, of course. And look, by the time, you know, people are listening to this, we might have a bit more of a concrete understanding of what that means. But the government is trying to stimulate construction in the industry and obviously jobs in that sector. So this builder's bonus has been a lot of speculation. It sort of went from being like a 50,000 suggested number, probably toned down to maybe about a $25,000 number. It is not going to be, my understanding, just for first homeowners. It is going to be open for owner-occupiers as well as your investor market as well. And whether that's means tested or not is yet to be proven. One report I read that it could be a combined household income of 200,000. But, you know, it is a perfect platform for people to get started. And if that's as an investor and you've been toying with ideas to buy into or get something new, this is a perfect time for you to start to look at these numbers, because what's going to happen is the grant's going to come through and you know what's going to happen to land prices, right?
That's what worries me. Yeah. Why can't that be controlled?
Yeah, well, they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Look, the fact is, and this is what our reports that I have read, that some of the big developers and landholders in the western suburbs of Sydney, on the back of all these speculation of these the building grants, have actually taken off their stock lists and prices from public consumption. Probably wait to hear what happens, and then those stock lists will come out, and there's going to be an increment number on that. It's going to creep up.
And you have to buy a house and land. You can't already have the land.
That I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one, Bernadette, because if people have got houses that they're subdividing, perhaps, you know, whether that means I can put that money into a granny flat. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things. I've also read that one of the terms could be that, and you probably heard about the renovation bonus. Could this grant be applied to doing renovations in your own home? But then do you need to spend, you know, double that out of your own pockets? You know, so it's obviously there's a lot of hearsay, but if this proceeds as it's going to, and we just don't know the terms and conditions, this is your time. If you've been sitting on your hands, you've been thinking, wondering, you know, start to make some serious movements towards securing land before it does go up, because there is going to be a surge in the same way when the first homeowners grant, you know, when those sorts of things come out, when any concessions on stamp duty come out, it pushes up the market prices in that sector. Yeah. So it has an impact on all of us as well. So now people, you know, if you've already been looking at doing things like house and land, or perhaps securing a block, which what they call infill, and that's when you're in an established area and perhaps someone has, you know, subdivided a rear lot, which is exactly what you've done in Wynnum when you did your development. Yeah. You bought a property like that. Perhaps this is applicable, that you bought the land and you're going to put the house on it. So that could be a perfect example of how it's going to work for you. But if you're going to like a small development and they ask for what's called an expression of interest or an EOI, so that terminology might come to you if you're familiar with building. And that expression of interest is often just a $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000. It holds the land for you, and it holds the land at the price that you are signing on that day. So if you're thinking about it, umming and ahhing, the expression of interest is fully refundable, and I thoroughly recommend that people move forward and secure it at today's prices. And it gives you 10 days to then go and look at finance and do some more due diligence. And if you decide to rescind, you can actually just put that in writing and say, we're not going to proceed with our purchase of lot, blah, blah, blah. So it really is a bit of get out of jail free scenario, but it also allows you to then make sure that you've got what you want. And if there's going to be people behind you queuing for it, I can guarantee the prices are going to go up.
That's a very good suggestion, because it does mean that you can get out there now and, you know, like there's probably not many days before the details come out, and be able to, secure it. Particularly good for people that have already started looking.
Of course.
Like, I think if you're starting from scratch now, it takes time, doesn't it?
Possibly an overwhelm. I understand that. What else is interesting is when land is developed. So you get a developer that buys, you know, a hectare and subdivides it up into little parcels of land for you to come and build a home on. It takes some time for that land to become registered with the council. And that time can be, you know, from here to 9 months away, or even 2 years away. So again, this is an opportunity for, someone starting out or an investor to secure something, again, at today's prices, but they may actually not have to do anything in terms of coming to fruition and paying for that for some time until it's registered.
Yeah.
And during that time, you save up more money. You know, the land value's gone up, so you've already created some equity for you in terms of that parcel of land. You're going to have no valuation issues. So it really, I know it sounds like a very complex thing I'm trying to shove into a very short sentence, but it's definitely an opportunity for someone to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, because I have heard that it possibly may mean that you do have to buy the house and land together. I've been trying to work out why that would be, and that's probably for that reason, because you're probably going to need to have a building contract.
Yeah, I'd suggest
it. Yeah. And to get a building contract in a short amount of time any other way would be quite challenging, because there's a lot of stuff to go through. Yeah. Wow. And of course, what really worries me about this is all those damn sharks out there with their off the plan and house and land packages that they flog off to unsuspecting, you know, people that are trying to have a go at improving their financial position. That's going to be, so they're really going to need someone like you who actually sorts out the sheep from the goats and works out, you know, basically who you can trust.
Yeah, of course. With the land packages, and you talk about the sharks, the one thing that bugs me predominantly, one of a few things that bug me in this space is
just let it all out. We're here to help.
It's great to start having this conversation with you.
Tell us, Jo, what is it?
It is the fact that a lot of people will sell house and land packages and tell you the build is going to cost a really modest price. You've gone to an open home, you're totally, you know, you're won over by the caliber of the curtains and the butler's pantry and and then you find out that that's just your base price. But by then you've secured something, and then the price is going to creep up and creep up. Oh, you want grass? You want a letterbox? Oh, hang on, do you actually want air conditioning? And all of a sudden, what you thought was a really fantastic deal has actually just grown another 6 figures on top of that. And that's what bugs me. And this is one of the reasons, and I implore anyone who's talking to any builders I would always suggest do a fixed price contract when you're doing any build. So it may not lure you in the same way as, obviously the lower cost will lure you in, but the true cost is going to be what you pay in the end. If you've got a fixed price contract and you know that's all in, all inclusive, your driveway, your letterbox, your front door, that's what you need to do, because if there are additional costs, that's on their shoulders that they've miscalculated on, you know, square meterage of tiles, which they probably haven't miscalculated. But fee and a fixed price, that is absolutely what you must do and must negotiate and insist upon seeing before you sign a contract as well.
Exactly, and that should be included in the contract.
It should be.
That it's fixed price.
Yeah. So some of them will say then it's plus costs on top of that, and that's when it can just blow out. And it becomes something, it grows out of control, and
So it's a common thing to have earthworks as an allowable variation, or is it a common thing? Because often
the site works are included in some of them.
Okay, and so they base that on a soil report, do they?
Yeah. So a lot of the land, they would already know what they're dealing with in terms of those sites, what the soil's like, what's required for that particular location. So they will do that.
Okay, so you can actually, because that's something that I've not had a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
So you can actually stitch up a completely fixed price.
Yeah, from beginning to the end. And then there's also something called liquidated damages, so that, you hear these horror stories where off the plan is when nothing's been built, no ground broken, and you put your money down, and in 3.5 years later, you get a finished product. And then in 3.5 years, the market's turned and twisted, and your situation's changed, and all of a sudden finance is a bit of a problem for you, or, this happens where people's valuations are then, $70,000 to $100,000, lighter than what was originally negotiated. That's your off the plan. So the house and land deals that we look at is something that's going to be done within 6 to 9 months from beginning to the end. That liquidated damages word, I use that terminology, is there's something in your contract that means if that builder doesn't deliver in that window of time, there's actually a compensation to you as the owner. So you can negotiate. Sometimes it's $1 a day, which of course everyone can afford to lose $7 a day. But if you make an amendment to $50 a day or $100 a day, because whilst your property is being built, you've got holding costs. You could be, if it's going to be home, you're renting somewhere else. So these are the sorts of things that, I guess, this is one of the reasons why my business even morphed into doing the new build space, is because I just heard so many war stories on the back of this, where people were, lured in, with all the greatest intentions, but they didn't do their own due diligence. And once the contract signed, were never ever met or saw. The sales guy was long gone after that.
Yeah.
We are there to hold people's hands right through to the end, even to the point where here's your keys. Let's walk through. Let's get a property manager on board so that you've got a tenant, within a matter of hours of ownership.
Yeah.
So it's really important to see it through.
Exactly. So, some of those contracts are absolutely horrendous, and people don't realise, some people don't realise the gravity of signing a contract. They think that, some do, things can get varied later, but once your signature's on the dotted line, you are on the hook, line and sinker. And I know we had a guy come into one of our boot camps, and I don't know why, but the week before he came in to do a renovation boot camp, he decided to have a look at some apartments off the plan, and he brought the contract in to show us. And fortunately, Stephen's, because he's dealing with contracts on hospital builds all the time, is very, astute. And he just said it was a flipping nightmare. Like he would have, if he had gone ahead with it, he would have been in a very bad position. Like they have sunset clauses for themselves, but not for the client, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. And you've got to pay the money to get a solicitor to look over these things. I do find sometimes I'm like, you can't, come on, like get someone's legal eyes over this. You're about to lose, spend $500,000, but you won't spend $1,200 potentially to have someone's eyes over this and negotiate the terms.
There was a company in Melbourne that did these sort of deals, and they were in bed with, for want of a better word, a lawyer who was equally as corrupt as they were. They would have sessions on a weekend, and when they'd put the contract in front of people there and then they'd walk them next door to the lawyer to basically get his part of it to make it watertight done there and then. So they left that place with no cooling off because that lawyer had been involved, and he was just as crooked as they are. So you've got to be really careful about who you're dealing with.
Yeah. Look, this is one of the reasons we've chosen as a business model to always remain 100% independent. If someone needs a referral for a solicitor or a broker, happy to pass those on, but come with the person that you know, like, and trust, and that you've worked with before. Same with the builders. We're not in bed, for one of another term, with any builders. So if someone came to us and said, I'm looking to do this in an area I'm not familiar with, can you help me perhaps facilitate what builder we get? I spend a lot of time looking at that builder online, and you look at their license, how clean their license is, what complaints there are about them. Go and have a look and physically inspect their builds, what the caliber is, what the site, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do from a desktop perspective, even if you're not experienced in this space. And when you do read complaints, read into them, because sometimes it can be something minute that's obviously got under someone's skin. It could be something like, I don't know, a curtain rod wasn't secured properly, or, things like that you can either take as trivial. But if it's like, for 6 months we complained we had no hot water and nothing was done, that's something you might want to sort of question the caliber.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Sometimes, not so much with builders, but some of those spruikers, I think they must, because a few of them I've researched and you can just find nothing on the internet about them. They must somehow control their reviews.
That's interesting you say that, because recently I was doing some due diligence on a builder, and I went to one of the sites that has a whole bunch of reviews for builders, and it actually had a banner across saying there's been an abnormal amount of positive reviews, and that's actually under review. So in other words, whether they've gotten a collection of employees or friends and family to all of a sudden give them 5 stars, it's actually flagged it with the business.
Wow.
The platform. So, obviously you can look at your reviews on Facebook and Google, and then, and then jump onto, the different actual builders' websites. You can actually see, is their license clean? Have they been doing anything right? That is where you really need to delve in a little deeper.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, what else have we got to add to this conversation? Have we covered it?
Well, I think so.
So do you want to just, so if someone wants some help finding a block of land, with the view of taking up this offer when it becomes available, do you want to just describe how you approach that, how you look after people that come to you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So we can assist with sourcing the block of land, making sure it obviously meets what your plans are, whether you're planning to build your own home or you're as an investor as well. Secure that, negotiate the sale, because often the land and the builder are not the same body. Sometimes it does happen that they are one, but other times the land can be just a developer that's just decided to slice up 15 lots on something that they hold. So I'll do the negotiations on your behalf to secure that lot. I also, before anything's secured, I also then contact builders that I know and have them come in and look at the land, making sure the contours are right, that the sewers, the drainage, stormwater, etc. If you can look at a plan, you don't necessarily mean just because it looks like it's going to match that site, it's going to work. This actually happened this morning where someone flagged a site they really liked in a certain area and found out there's a transformer box on that lot. And that's great. So, here she was like, I love this corner lot, but it's like, I don't think they mentioned to you that there's going to be this high voltage transformer, big grey, above ground thing just on your doorstep. So these are the sorts of things you really need to be buyer beware. Once we can work out the plan is going to work, making sure, is the living room going to be facing the north, is it going to get the sunlight? Is it going to be the right fit? So we basically help you facilitate making sure it matches up and it's going to be the right fit for your needs. Our service is complimentary because we are remunerated by the builder, who do have a marketing fee allocated in those costs, so that people like myself have introduced business, we're actually remunerated. But I work for our client and I make sure that client is looked after. I am the liaison point between them and the builder for most of that period of time. And I'm there to make sure that the handover is done smoothly and we check on the sites for them. So,
wow, that's awesome. So someone can have you, look, I know you've told me this, but I didn't quite get it. You call me slow. That's awesome.
I'm glad you get it now. That's good.
Yeah, I do. So if someone wanted some help and wanted, that's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that got amazing marketing and all these wonderful things, but when I've actually physically gone out there, it's like, but there's like, thousands of hectares and it's just west of the coastline, and you just know it's going to be building forever, and there's just not enough going on, and you can already see that, some of these estates have got 30-year plans. Where I like to help my clients secure property is in infill areas or small development lots, or even areas like north of Brisbane, like Moreton Bay, where they've only got about 3 years left of land before it's done, and that's where, when there's no more land, we either go up or the prices will go up. So that's what makes me happy for my clients.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is really exciting. So we don't really know a whole lot about whether we are going to be able to use this grant on existing renovations, or renovating existing properties. So the Prime Minister has certainly hinted at that.
Yeah.
And there will be provisos, or there will be means testing.
Yes.
But hopefully it won't be too onerous. So I'm guessing there will be some sort of control on the number of people that can apply for it. Yeah.
Who knows how this is going to play out. I do know, though, a lot of people watching this and really keen to take advantage of it. As from an investment point of view, it's like, this could be, how long is it going to take someone to save up $25,000? It's not easy. That's time. And then by the time you've saved up that 25K, what's happened to the price points? So
exactly. Like, I often think it's almost impossible. Well, it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it is challenging at times trying to keep ahead of the inflation rate of property. Yeah. And I'm wondering whether first homeowners would be able to combine that with the first homeowners grant.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because there's been speculation about reducing stamp fee and wiping stamp, all these sorts of, I know it's rumour. So it'd be interesting to see what that looks like ultimately for people to be able to really harness these opportunities. And look, people I know are still going, I'm just going to hang around and wait to see when there's free fall in the market. But the fact is, if banks are lending money now and your circumstance is still that you're in, steady employment, maybe this is your time to jump on board, to get this going, to get a property that's going to provide you not only equity, but also, they've got the growth and the yields there. This is your time,
Exactly.
Make a decision.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, now that things are opening up and businesses are getting going, there may be a few more properties on the market that I think that's probably going to be the thing that might make a difference. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One thing I did read that was stupid though, I did read what was the quote? Oh, there's going to be abandoned established houses. That's not going to happen. Can I just put it out there? And I just said, when I read that, I said to Greg, my husband, man, if anyone abandons a house in Clontarf in Sydney, I'm having it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, I know, but yes, as I said, it's you don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That's it, right?
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you want to have a chat with Jo about what options there are out there at the moment, Jo's details will also be in the show notes. But do you want to just put your website out there, or how people can contact you?
Yes, certainly. advocateservices.com.au is our website. But you can also email me directly at jo@advocateservices.com.au, and happy to have a look at your own personal circumstance and see whether we can help you make this work.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, on that note, I think we'll call it a day, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Bernadette. Thanks for having me.
Jo and I actually recorded this episode on Wednesday. So we were getting in there because at that point, we didn't have the details of the home builder grant, but it was a speculative chat. But in between then and now, the details have been, some of the details have been released. They're still quite sketchy. And so that's required a bit of a retake, because things that we didn't know were going to be in the detail, we now know. So welcome back, Jo. It's been such a long time.
Fantastic to be back. Look, it's good we can kind of go over where we were speculating, but now we've got some, some real true details. What does that still mean for you as a renovator, as a homeowner?
Yeah.
What can you do with this opportunity with home buyers?
Well, I guess the first distinction we need to clarify is that it is for your principal place of residence. So it's not for an investment property, and it's for renovations such as kitchens, bathrooms, substantial renovations, which I think is quite an interesting choice of words, because that has a meaning. It's a terminology that the ATO refers to, a substantial renovation, and it's not taxable, so that money's tax-free. So it's either for buying and building a new home or renovating an existing home.
That's right. And the existing home is only up to 1.5 million in value.
Yes.
So this will really speak to a lot of your audience who are renovators, and perhaps they're looking for a project to do, but perhaps that project is home. Maybe that's where you can start to add some serious value to your property. If you've got a budget allocation already, I think you need to have 150,000 of your own money, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Then you get your 25,000 bonus, and as Bernadette said, it's, you know, it is in your own home. It's not adding on a swimming pool and a deck and a jacuzzi. But this is an opportunity for you to put some equity, like build some equity in your home at a time where it is a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of uncertainty at the moment. So why not? You know, why not use this gift, so to speak, from the government? And the money is there to stimulate the construction industry. It's about bringing jobs in. So that is why this has been created. I know it's been met with some negativity from other sectors, and especially where housing is so unaffordable for so many. But if you've got this period of time, it's a window that we can look at, I guess, making the best of a situation.
Yes, I'm a little bit concerned about the minimum requirement, the spend of 150,000, because I think, you know, there could be the risk of people overcapitalising because they have to spend that money. So you really do need to be careful and make sure that the renovations that you do actually add value to the home.
Yeah, absolutely. This is true.
Because otherwise you're adding, you know, like close enough to 200,000 to the asset base. So yeah, making sure that, but if you're needing to do an addition to add another bedroom or add a living room, add another bathroom, it's an excellent opportunity.
Yeah, no, I do see it as that. If you're in a position, if that's what you've been considering doing, this is the time to make your 3-bedroom home a 4-bedroom one, you know, and obviously look around you and see what the area calls for as well. And if you've been in your home for 15 years, maybe now is the time to do some other upgrades, cosmetic upgrades as well.
Exactly. The other thing to be mindful of is that the property value is capped at 1.5 million.
Yes.
So if your property is worth more than 1.5 million, which particularly in Sydney is not hard to do, then you don't qualify, but there are plenty that are worth less than that. So great opportunity for them to bring the standard of their home up and hopefully the value. I thought it might be worthwhile just giving people some tips on, if they want to do this, how to really go about figuring out what to do with the home. And one of the things like the first thing I would suggest is actually doing a little bit of research on renovated homes in your area, and just like having conversations with the agents and figuring out what it is that people in your area look for when they're looking for a renovated home, so that you make sure that you hit the mark in terms of getting the renovation to be profitable and add value to the home. Even if you're not planning to sell, you can then refinance and hopefully tap into some of that equity.
Yes. Yeah.
What about the new builds, Jo? Because that's one of your areas of expertise. Do you have many people wanting land for a new build?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
For a home, for the PPOR?
Yeah, we do. We've got people in Sydney. So the cap is 750,000.
Yeah.
Which of course means if you're based in a capital city, you're looking at a further afield field.
So can I just ask, is that the Reno? Oh, the property value.
Property, I'd say that'd be the full package. Yes. So you really are talking I'm going to quote Sydney here, but Marsden Park, Gregory Hills areas, which, you know, that would mean you're going to be able to get in, but it's not going to be, you know, it's going to cap what your decision is. And I do believe that some of the terms and conditions are you need to sign a build contract within a 3 month window. Yeah, it's from the 4th of June to the 31st of December. So it's 6 months, but that's the contract, the building contract, and you need to have commenced within 3 months of signing the contract. Yeah, so you sign the contract, and that makes you eligible to claim the grant.
but then you need to have started, because I guess otherwise people would be signing contracts and then rescinding them just to get the money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that just be mindful if you're looking to do something like this, that when the land you are negotiating on, first of all, you want to make sure that the house you want matches up to the land you've got, and what you want to do can be built on it. So you've got your house and land package, but make sure that the land is registered. And even if a builder or a developer will say, oh, it's got at council, it could be registered in the next 2 to 3 months, I know what those 2 to 3 months can sometimes blow out too. So just be really mindful of that. So the land registration date is something you really need to be aware of, because otherwise you could find you've committed to a property that you will not be able to get, break earth, so to speak.
Actually, that's such a good point. So the other thing that you probably should mention about your service, I think that's something that really, I think it's a no-brainer, because you negotiate your fee from the builder, don't you?
That's correct, yeah. A lot of builders we work with have a margin allocated there for people like myself. So there's no fee to our clients. And a lot of the builders we work with are wholesale builders, so they don't have the big display homes and heavy overheads and sales teams. They rely on people like myself to introduce customers to them. So that's why I'm very discerning with who we do business with, because I don't want my clients to be paying those heavy marketing overheads that some of the more commercial builders do apply to, because they've got the reputation in the TV commercials.
Yeah. And a couple of things that I really like about how you operate is, one, that you're transparent. So, people know exactly where they stand. And the other one, that you're not married, for want of a better word, to any particular builder. Like there's no, because often those sort of situations where they're sort of in one another's pockets don't turn out well for the client, do they?
Yeah, that's right. So I think remaining that 100% independent status has been really, really important to my business. And look, whilst this is all about the home ownership, and it's wonderful, it doesn't apply just to your first homeowners. And I understand that you can blend if you qualify for the first homeowner scheme, you might be able to tap into both of these. So what an opportunity for someone who's just starting out to actually it's a big step up for many young people who are starting out.
So how much is the first homeowners grant?
I think it differs in each state. So I think if you're coming in under 750 in New South Wales, and please, no one quote me on this, there is movement there in the stamp duty, whether it's completely removed or it's a 10,000 cash bonus.
I think over 650, so there's a threshold for getting it completely free, and then it reduces. I might just do a little bit of research while we're talking. Yeah. So is there anything else people should know about?
Look, the other thing I was just going to say is, if you are looking to invest and looking at whether it's a house and land project or a dual key property or a duplex or something like that, if that's on the cards and this is an investment property for you, just be mindful of the fact that this scheme, this bonus is going to push up the land prices. So ultimately, as an investor, it could affect you. So if this is something you're thinking of doing, for a long-term investment strategy, be aware that you now got a bit of competition, and it is going to mean that the land vendors will hike up prices.
Yeah, because I don't know, was it you that was saying the other day that a lot of the land vendors had taken their price lists down off the internet in anticipation?
Yeah. And look, I spoke to a Stocklands estate. Now, Stocklands have got a really good reputation as developers. They really do master plan estates, and they've got very high expectations on the properties and what the term covenants. So you must have, requirements. So you leave a beautiful legacy estate. Now, I spoke to them today, and really hard to get someone on the phone. She said since the beginning of May, they've been run off their feet. So this is just going to add to that. And once they've sold out the land, they move on to the next. So look, it's just one of those things. Be aware of, the stock will move, because this incentive is making people who maybe have been sitting around waiting and not making a decision. This is going to be what pushes them, and that pushes the market up.
The other thing that I noticed in the qualifications are that it's a builder that you have to contract with. So that sort of means that you have to do all your trades through the one builder. Which is a shame that it's not a project manager. But so I think as time goes on, there will be more detail that comes out, and we'll get a full understanding of how restrictive it is.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
another asterisk I noticed is that builder can't be related to you.
Ah.
Yeah. So if you've got a brother-in-law who's a builder.
Well, actually, I do have a son-in-law, but we don't qualify anyhow, so that
Yeah.
ship has sailed. What was I going to say about that? And the other thing is that you need to be over 18 years of age, which is obvious, but you can't be an entity. It needs to be an individual, so it can't be a company or a trust that applies for it as well. I personally think it's the stroke of genius on the government's part. So basically what they're doing is incentivising the public to keep the construction industry alive. I wish they'd work on a few other industries as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What I want to say now is that there's a fact sheet produced by the Treasury Department, and I'll include a link in the show notes so people can go, because there are quite a few scenarios that they've actually mapped out there, and it'll help you to understand what the circumstances under which and the limitations of the grant. And I'll also include Joe's details, because as we mentioned, if you need help to source some land to build a property, Joe can help you, and it's not going to cost you anything.
Yes, that's right.
That is an incredible deal. And I feel very confident recommending her, because she looks after me, so I know she'll look after you as well. And Greg, of course, the wonderful Greg.
Wonderful Greg. Yeah, my better half. Do I say that?
We all say that, tongue in cheek. Well, listen, I think that's probably as much as we can share at the moment. If you want to ask any questions, if you go into the She Renovates Facebook group, Joe and I both have access to that. So if you want to tag us, if you have a specific question, and we'll be more than happy to answer it to the best of our ability. And as time goes on, we will develop a better understanding of what the grant means for you and for us. And I think that's pretty well it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, Bernadette. And let's hope that we've got listeners out there who are going to be able to, make this a starting point for themselves to move forward.
Just a quick story and then I'll go. I was talking to a lady today, and she is a single mum. She's just in her early 60s, worked her life, like a Trojan, brought up her daughter on her own, and really struggled to educate herself, university, more than one degree, and really feels unappreciated in her work. So I feel fairly certain that she's going to be able, because we were talking about how she can, because the one thing, she's done lots of things right, but one thing she's done really right has bought a home for herself and managed to keep it and pay it off. And that is going to be her sort of ticket to the life that she deserves. And I'm really thrilled that someone like her may be able to, I say may because we never know until we've got down to the nitty-gritty, be able to use that to help them to go to that next step in the next chapter in her life. And I think, that's where that money is going to be really transformative.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, we're off.
Okay.
Thursday night, so we'll dash off now. And thanks, Joe, and I'll see you on the Facebook page.
Will do. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.